Pompey Sound. Updates, the latest from Fratton Park, on the hour, every hour. Fueled by Piglet's Pantry. Click pigletspantry.co.uk to get your fill.
There are reports coming out of Lincoln that Riley Towler is undergoing a medical with the Imps today, after, quote, "we agreed a fee with Portsmouth," unquote. According to reports from Football Insider, quote, "we have seen off competition from Luton Town and Huddersfield Town to secure his signature." The 23-year-old played 10 times in the Championship last season for Pompey. They go on to say it's no secret that Michael is keen to strengthen the defence ahead of the upcoming campaign, with the left side being a particular trouble spot. However, we have been playing a 4-2-3-1 with a proper left-back, and that is the position we really need to fill. The former Bristol City defender predominantly plays left centre-back, the same position as Sonny Bradley. Towler featured sporadically for Portsmouth during the 2024-25 Championship campaign. Primarily playing at left centre-back across these appearances, his dual success rate hovered around 65%, and he was involved in an average of 11.7 duels per game. While competent in the air, his success rate was slightly less dominant at just under 67%, but he showed commitment in ground battles and made double-digit recoveries and interceptions in several matches. On the ball, Towler's passing accuracy varied, but remained largely solid. He averaged over 37 passes per game with an accuracy above 80%, picking up 92% against Sunderland in August. His long passing output was also now notable, with over 4 attempts per match, although accuracy here was more inconsistent. The Stacey West continues, quote, "Before anyone says we need a left-back, I've delved deeper into Towler's past performances and discovered something interesting. He can play in the holding midfield role. He played 3 matches there for AFC Wimbledon in late 2022, as well as making a handful of early appearances for Bristol City at left-back. They are 2 areas we probably need to recruit, and while I'm certainly not suggesting with signing him for either position, I found it intriguing that he had played there."
Yeah, it is intriguing that he's played there, because I think the intrigue is which is his best position. A lot of Pompey fans knew that he's going, but now there is flesh and bone flesh on the bone of that belief. He looks as though he may be on his way to Lincoln, a club that we have a certain relationship with. And we will be following his progress with interest, just as we will be following the progress of Christian Sadie, Kasigi Yengi, because you do. And we wish him well, of course. But there will be a lot of fans, I know. I talked to a lot of Pompey fans who couldn't quite understand, without ever getting critical of John Messino, who couldn't quite understand why he performed as well as he did in the first part of the Championship season. And he did. And then he seemed to fall out of favour. For what reason? There may be a reason that we're not privy to, and that's fair enough. But it may be that the manager's perception was simply that he wasn't big enough and rough enough, and therefore kind of tough enough to hack it in the Championship. Because it is especially amongst the defence, it is a game of blood and thunder. And he would have been facing opponents, number 9s, players of all sorts of numbers, who are that much taller than him, but not only that, much more bigger than him, and have bigger elbows and bigger knees. And all of this counts in the business of getting the points, the 3 points on the board from a Championship game. It doesn't do him any favours that he has quite boyish features. He's only 23, but there is something about his innocent smile and toothy grin and his flowing bleached locks and his headband. My wife says, he's nice, he looks like a surfer. And yes, he does. But he hasn't got the same physical stature, I should say, as some of the other centre-halves that we have on our books and some of the centre-forwards that he would be playing up against. Now, the Lincoln fans have been bombarded with a bunch of numbers, as you heard. We don't need them. We've seen him play. We know what he can do. He likes to get forward. He likes to bring the ball out from central defence. And sometimes he can be tremendously effective doing it. He's got a good shot on him. He's got an eye for goal. They say that he passes the ball well, that he makes 4 attempted long passes per game, although the success of those long passes is inconsistent. Well, the longer the pass, the more likely it is to be inconsistent. So, if you're just rolling the ball sideways to your fellow centre half, that's something that you, dear listener, can be trusted to do with 100% success. So if they get Riley Towler, it'll be interesting to see what the price is quoted as. What do you think? Any thoughts? If Matthews is worth $1.5 million, you'd have thought that Towler would have been approaching $500,000, wouldn't you? I must check with Transfer Market and see what he's quoted at. Not that that is any kind of gospel, but it's a very good guideline. So, the rumour, and at this very moment of going to press, as it were, we think it's exclusive, at least within the orbit of Portsmouth and Portsmouth News. Riley Towler's having a medical at Lincoln. John Messina has an excellent way of explaining how and why and where Pompey are in the current transfer window. It goes like this.
The best way to put it is we could have had a full plane going to Slovakia. We could have been done by now and had 6 or 7 players in already. It would have been really easy for us to do that because there's plenty of players available. There's plenty of players we could have got who are within budget and we could have just been done with it. That's just not the way we want to go though. We want to push the limits in terms of what we've been given. We want to spend the money wisely and spend the money on bringing in the right players. Adrian was a player who was available early in the window. We wanted to get that done and we managed to get that done. We're being patient with the others because we want to bring in the right players at the right time. We want to bring in players with the quality we think can affect the championship, rather than players who we're not quite sure about.
And hopefully that eloquent and lucid and very clear and very transparent statement from John Messina will just cause those who are clamouring, that's the word used by some journalists, clamouring for signings now. We want people in now. We don't want to wait. We haven't got any patience. We haven't got any courage, is the right word. Let's just be brave about all of this. We know what the club is doing. They've done it very successfully in the last 2, 3, 4, whatever transfer windows. Let's let them get on with it without hounding them too, as John Messina seems to be suggesting, by any old talent, so that, as he puts it rather well, there'd be a full plane going to Slovakia. The excitement that some people get from signing players is disproportionate. That excitement can very soon turn to disappointment if those players don't quite perform. And instead of saying that was partly my fault because I was banging on all the time on social media or whatever about making some signings, that I rather twisted the arm of management. I don't think for one moment that would ever happen, but it could. And they signed the wrong guy. This is what Pompey are trying to make sure they do. Sign the right people for the right money. Who can argue with that? Oh, a handful. A handful can and will. Admittedly, journalists make a disproportionately loud noise that reflects the quiet noise that those who are saying we should be signing players now, where are they? Where's the exciting headlines? Where's the new faces that we can Google briefly and dream are going to turn into, the new Neymar, which I think is always in the back and sometimes towards the middle, definitely rarely the front of the thinking that we must bring in more players. They will necessarily be brilliant. That sort of thinking is deeply flawed, along with the thinking that a number of fans who were vocal, who now are no longer vocal at all, hardly, would be shouting after half an hour for substitutions if we hadn't got 2 goals up. Again, that kind of reaction for some kind of instant change is very counterproductive, and we should be cautious of it and not pay too much attention to those who are making that noise, or as the journalists like to put it, clamour. The Sheffield Star is saying this about the fight to get the signature of Mark Koznovsky, and we'll also include some of their updates on the transfer activities of some of the other clubs in the Championship. And the big spenders, obviously, attract the most attention. But here's what they're saying about Koznovsky.
Sheffield United are set to battle Championship rivals Portsmouth and Swansea City as they seek the Hungarian U21 international Mark Koznovsky. Fellow second-tier clubs Norwich City and Blackburn Rovers have also both been previously linked with a move for the midfielder who, according to sources close to the star, is said to be keen to test himself in the English football leagues. The 23-year-old currently plays for MTK Budapest, with the Hungarian side valuing him at 7 figures. He was named in Hungary's Team of the Year in 2024 and has made 49 league appearances for his club, as well as 12 appearances for his country at under-21 level. Ruben Sells is making his mark in Bramall Lane after replacing Chris Wilder as Sheffield United's head coach earlier this summer. The club's third-place finish in the 2024-25 season was not enough to see them return to the Premier League, and they are now firm favourites to battle it out once again in those top spots of the Championship. Wrexham had been hopeful of adding some Premier League experience to their ranks as they prepare for their first season in the Championship, following 3 successive promotions. However, their pursuit of Nottingham Forest's Lewis O'Brien could face a further battle with the two parties currently struggling to decide on salary. The City Ground Club had been prepared to let the 26-year-old leave after the club's asking price had been met, and Wrexham were all set to pay £5 million for the midfielder's services. However, latest reports from The Sun have added that the Red Dragons are struggling to meet O'Brien's salary demands, and that a transfer to Wales is now in doubt. The report also adds that a compromise is now required during wage discussions in order for this move to go through. The Middlesbrough defender Rav Vandenberg is now enjoying interest from not one, but 2 Premier League clubs, with Brentford reportedly set to challenge Crystal Palace for his services. Millwall's star striker Mihailo Ivanovic is now the subject of international interest after the Italian club Parma threw their name into the mix, alongside Everton and Wolves. The young forward arrived at the Den last summer in a then-club record deal worth £2.8 million. He has since gone on to score 13 goals in 40 appearances across all competitions and has attracted both Premier League and international buzz. Advertis.
Let's start with that last point, which is that Ivanovic, who is interesting Parma, alongside Everton and Wolves, arrived at the Den in a then club record deal worth £2.8 million, and they say he has since gone on to score 13 goals in 40 appearances across all competitions, and thus has attracted both Premier League and international buzz. All I would say, and I know I'm biased, is that if he's that good, how good is Colby Bishop? Because his stats alone are better than that, and we also know that he can do more than just score goals. He does a great many other things besides scoring goals, which you barely notice unless you've got your wits about you. But his not just his hold-up play, but the way in which he works to tie up 2 centre-halves rather than just tie up one and leave the other one free to roam forward is so valuable to Pompey, and he does it so well and so cutely and so indefatigably. So that's the first point, really. If Ivanovic is worth £2.8 million plus, then what's Colby Bishop worth? But as far as our pursuit of Koznovsky goes, it seems that Sheffield believe that it's between Pompey, Swansea and Sheffield. So there's almost certainly much more to it than that. If it comes down to simply a matter of money, as it did with Kamara last season, he went to Hull because they were prepared to shell out £4.5 million. There's still a player in there, but they can't find it. They can't find the player that we had when he was playing with us. So we got our judgment, our price indication, our assessment of his financial value spot on. Don't know what it was exactly, but it was less than £4 million. And Alex Robertson ended up going to Cardiff instead of coming to us, and that probably was largely a matter of money. Robertson has had a good season by all accounts. We have only got what the Welsh press are saying about him, but the suggestion is that he has been one of the success stories at Cardiff last season, and there weren't very many of those. Whether he's going to be happy with life in League One when he could be playing for Pompey, for example, in the Championship, that's another matter. Whether there's anything in his contract that says he's entitled to listen to other offers if Cardiff are relegated, which they were, then we might just wake up one morning to some very good news indeed. But as far as Kozhinovsky goes, the Sheffield Star are saying it's between Sheffield, Pompey and Swansea.